All right, here we go. Talking about the brand new Nick Kypreos trade board on sportsnet.ca. Real Kippers trade board 7.0. A first look at the offseason. This, of course, was posted by Sportsnet on their Twitter account and on their website last night. No, not last night. Last day. Yesterday. Oh, I'm an idiot. Yesterday at 1:52 p.m. And there are a number of Vancouver Canucks dudes that we should probably go out there and talk about that are included on this list. Now, Nick Kypreos, of course, say what you want about his hockey takes on the radio. This is a guy who has started to build back up his reputation for getting information and reporting things that inevitably happen. I'd say over the past year and a bit, Nick Kypreos has had more of a, let's just say, positive track record as of late. And with that said, there are a whole bunch of names that are written about and talked about when it comes to the NHL trade board. Let's talk about the Canucks, guys, because Elias Pettersson is, of course, a name mentioned on the list. You also have Jake Debrusk that has a brief mention as well. Let's start out by reading what Kipper says on PD. In Vancouver, Elias Pettersson was on the trade board all season, and there's no indication that a new management team will be enough to save his long-term future in British Columbia. Pettersson, along with every one of his teammates, will be available at the right price. So, do with that information what you will. The right price, what exactly is that? Do the Vancouver Canucks want a first-round pick? They want a prospect? They want both? They want a number of things? Do they want to retain salary? The last regime did not want to do that at all. And it makes sense. $11.6 million a year. This guy's expensive. He's got 6 more years left on that juicy contract, and I know the cap is going up. That's an element that needs to be acknowledged here. But Petey making so much money, if the Vancouver Canucks retain $2.5, $3 million per year, like it's been reported that teams want Vancouver to do, you're retaining like $18 million total dollars over the course of the next 6 years. That's a lot of money, and you could probably get a decent player with that amount of dough. Pettersson last year had 51 points in 74 games played, literally half of what he had done years ago in 22-23. He is no longer that guy. But as Kypreos goes out there and writes about, Pettersson, along with every Vancouver Canuck, seems like they would be on the trade block at the moment, because everybody's got a price. It's like Ted DiBiase out here telling us and laughing in our faces. Every one of Pettersson and his teammates will be available at the right price. Now, when it comes to prices and other Canucks teammates, let's scroll by everybody here. Okay, we can talk about Pettersson again. Let's dive into the write-up here that Kipper has on Petey. Another player we have had our eye on all year. Pettersson has now had declining point-per-game averages for 3 consecutive years, and he barely reached the 50-point mark this year. The trick remains to be the fact that he comes with an $11.6 million AAV, and he is signed through 2030-2031. He also has a full no-movement clause. The Canucks are rebuilding under new management and need to shake up the group, which trading Pettersson would accomplish. But this trade will not be easy to achieve. Seems like it would be easy if the Vancouver Canucks just retained salary, but they don't want to do that. We already heard that apparently other teams around the NHL, they think that if they get Pettersson at $8 million a year, whatever, if they get him on a retained contract, they could train and put this guy in a better spot, do the entire change of scenery thing. You know, we saw that with Jack Eichel, we saw that with Mitch Marner. Pettersson could go over to a brand new team, and then he could be an 80-point guy again, and he could do all that at $8 million a year, and it would be an absolute steal. If that's possible, then obviously all the power to other NHL GMs for thinking that, and all the power to Elias Pettersson as well for potentially putting himself in a spot to do that. But I don't know. Is it possible? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Next up, it's Jake Debrusk. $5.5 million a year till the end of 2031, when he'll be 34 years old. He's 29 right now, left wing, shoots left, 6'1", 198, and he had a decent amount of points this previous year, 42 points in 81 games played, 23 goals and 19 assists. Yes, it's a decline from last year, but last year, the Vancouver Canucks were a lot better than they were this most previous year, so I'll give Jake Debrusk the pass. The situation just has not worked out as it planned. With Jake Debrusk in his 2 years with the Canucks, his own production has remained relatively steady in recent years, but he is meant to be a big complementary winger with strong line mates instead of a team's goal-scoring leader, which he was in Vancouver this season. He makes $5.5 million through 2031, which is not a bad rate for a player of his skill set as the cap rises. Lots of teams are thinking long and hard about Debrusk, and getting him to waive his no-move out of Vancouver is not expected to be an issue. Now, Satyr Shah said on Sportsnet 650, I think it was yesterday, that he would not be surprised if Jake Debrusk ended up waiving his no-move protection, and that ultimately seems to be a pattern when you talk about Jake Debrusk in particular. This is a guy that was a playoff contributor throughout certain parts of his career. I mean, I say that knowing that some years he had 4 points in 13 games, other years he had 6 points in 7 or 11 in 13. Jake Debrusk is built for the playoffs, and he actually does have a decent track record when he gets there. It's just, he didn't sign with Vancouver to be a bottom-of-the-league team. He signed with Vancouver because the year beforehand, the Canucks did really well, and they made the second round, and Jake Debrusk wanted to be a part of that. And now there's all this conversation as to whether or not he could get traded over to Edmonton, join his dad because his dad is part of the broadcast crew over there. The Oilers need power play help. Jake Debrusk can be your guy. He scores all these power play goals, and he's making a reasonable dollar amount with a reasonable timeline. Not to mention the fact that he happened to have been the best goal scorer on the Vancouver Canucks this most previous season, if you exclude Kiefer Sherwood and everybody else. Jake Debrusk, I agree with what Kypreos is writing here. I don't think it's a particularly nice thing to say, but I do think it reigns true that Jake Debrusk is supposed to be a complimentary winger instead of the team's top goal scorer. If you get Jake Debrusk in your squad and he is number one on your team in goals, you probably have a problem. Even though Debrusk is a guy that some years can get 27, 28, maybe 30 goals if he plays all the games and is on the right line. He's a good player, but who knows just where he is going to go. I would say that between Pettersson and Debrusk, these two top six quote-unquote forwards being on the trade block, it's not surprising, but the fact is we got to go out there and acknowledge their status still on Real Kipper's trade board of 2026. There are no more Vancouver Canucks guys on this list. And of course, if you want to read it, take a look at all the other names that are put out here. You can check out the link in the description. The article is going to be right there for your reading pleasure. With that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel about Nick Kypreos' trade update on Vancouver Canucks guys? Elias Pettersson, Jake Debrusk. Could they waive? Is it likely it happens? I'd say for Debrusk, it's way more likely that it goes through. For Petey, I just don't know if we've had conversations about him waiving that actually seem like they've gone anywhere, but I have no doubt that if Pettersson was asked to be traded to LA or whatever, or Vegas, he probably would say yes. I mean, look at Marner. He left Toronto. Media pressure, scrutiny everywhere. Then he goes over and now he's a Conn Smythe favorite. Could Pettersson do the same? Who really knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Kypreos' trade update for the Canucks. Does Debrusk go? Where does he go? Does Pettersson go? Where does he go? I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.